We gaan terug naar de Shire, The Return of the King. Het laatste hoofdstuk, de Grey Havens, ga ik voorlezen. Misschien wel in zijn geheel. Het is niet zo'n groot hoofdstuk. Ik vind het zelf een van de mooiste hoofdstukken van het boek. Het is zo schitterend weergegeven. Aan het begin krijg je al meteen het gevoel, hier staat iets bijzonders te gebeuren, ook droevig. En tegelijkertijd hoopvol. En dat heeft Tolkien heel mooi opgeschreven. The trees were the worst loss and damage, for at Sharky's bidding they had been cut down recklessly, far and wide over the Shire. And Sam grieved over this more than anything else. For one thing, this hurt would take long to heal, and only his great-grandchildren, he thought, would see the Shire as it ought to be. Then suddenly one day, for he had been too busy for weeks to give a thought to his adventures, he remembered the gift of Galadriel. Sam heeft natuurlijk in Lothlorien heeft hij van Galadriel een doosje gekregen, met daarin iets heel bijzonders. He brought the box out and showed it to the other travelers, for so they were now called by everyone, and asked their advice. I wondered when you would think of it, said Frodo. Open it. Inside it was filled with a great dust, soft and fine, and in the middle of which was a seed, like a small nut, with a silver shale. What can I do with this, said Sam. Throw it in the air on a breezy day, and let it do its work, said Pippin. On what? Said Sam. Choose one spot as a nursery, and see what happens to the plants there, said Merry. But I'm sure the lady would not like me to keep it all for my own garden, now so many folk have suffered, said Sam. Use all the wits and knowledge you have of your own, Sam, said Frodo, and then use the gift to help you work and better it, and use it sparingly. There is not much here, and I expect every grain has a value. Hier kun je al zien dat Frodo is eigenlijk wijs geworden. Hij is een soort Gandalf geworden. Hij heeft echt wijsheid. En dat zie je ook verderop in het hoofdstuk. Dat is ook zo mooi. Dat geeft al een gevoel van wat er staat te gebeuren. So Sam planted saplings in all the places where especially beautiful or beloved trees had been destroyed. And he put a grain of the precious dust in the soil at the root of each. He went up and down the Shire in this labor, but if he paid special attention to Hobbiton and Bywater, no one blamed him. And at the end he found that he still had a little of the dust left, so he went to the 3 farthing stone, which is as near the center of the Shire as no matter, and cast it in the air with his blessing. The little silver nut he planted in the party field, where the tree had once been, and he wondered what would come of it. All through the winter he remained as patient as he could, and tried to restrain himself from going round constantly to see if anything was happening. Spring surpassed his wildest hope. His trees began to sprout and grow as if time was in a hurry. Mooi hè? As if time was in a hurry. And wished to make 1 year do for 20. Dan krijg je eigenlijk nog een kleine hint van er is haast geboden. In the party field a beautiful young sapling leaped up. It had silver bark and long leaves and burst into golden flowers in April. It was indeed a malorn. And it was the wonder of the neighborhood. In after years, as it grew in grace and beauty, it was known far and wide, and people would come long journeys to see it. The only malorn west of the mountains and east of the sea, and one of the finest in the world. Altogether, 1420 in the Shire was a marvelous year. Not only was there wonderful sunshine and delicious rain, in due times and perfect measure. But there seems something more, an air of richness and growth, and a gleam of beauty beyond that of mortal summers, that flicker and pass upon this middle earth. All the children born or begotten in that year, and there were many, were fair to see and strong, and most of them had a rich golden hair that had before been rare among hobbits. The fruit was so plentiful that young hobbits very nearly bathed in strawberries and cream, and later they sat on the lawns under the plum trees and ate, until they had made piles of stones like small pyramids or the heaped skulls of a conqueror, and then moved on. And no one was ill, and everyone was pleased, except those who had to mow the grass. In the South Farthing, the vines were laden and the yield of leaf was astonishing. Leaf is natuurlijk dan pijptabak. And everywhere there was so much corn that at harvest every barn was stuffed. The North Farthing barley was so fine that the beer of 40-20 malt was long remembered and became a byword. Indeed, a generation later one might hear an old gaver in an inn, after a good pint of well-earned ale, put down his mug with a sigh, "Ah, that was proper 14-20 that was." Dus Sam heeft al die bomen geplant met het zaad van Lothlorien wat hij van Lady Galadriel heeft gehad. En speciaal de melonboom. En hierin zie je eigenlijk ook een symbool. Hè? Het zaaien van iets nieuws, of de oogst, het cyclische wat daarin verborgen ligt, is een eeuwenoud symbool. Ook in het oude Egypte heb je de korenvelden, hè, die goud lijken te zijn. Die zachtjes heen en weer wiegen in de wind. De wind die hier ook een rol speelt met het verspreiden van het zaad voor die bomen. Dat is een eeuwenoud symbool van vernieuwing. Je oogst. Je neemt dat tot je. En vervolgens worden er nieuwe planten geplant. En dat is een cyclus wat zich steeds herhaalt. Dus iets eeuwigs. En die bomen die Sam hier zaait, zijn natuurlijk niet zomaar bomen. Het is een melon tree en alle planten dat jaar, alle gewassen zijn plentiful. Zijn rijk, goud, golden hair. Dus daarin merk je ook iets dat er is iets anders. Er hangt iets anders in de lucht. Er is iets eeuwigs. En dat is mooi en dat is ook weer een hint van wat er staat te gebeuren. Sam stayed at first at the cottons with Frodo, but when the new row was ready, he went with the gaffer. In addition to all his other labors, he was busy directing the cleaning up and restoring of backhand. But he was often away in the Shire on his forestry work, so he was not at home in early March and did not know that Frodo had been ill. On the 13th of that month, Farmer Cotton found Frodo lying on his bed. He was clutching a white gem that hung on a chain about his neck, and he seemed half in a dream. "It is gone forever," he said, "and now all is dark and empty." De ring die Frodo natuurlijk aan een ketting had om zijn nek. Maar nu hangt daar die zilveren, hoe zeg je dat, vial in het Engels, die hij heeft gehad van Lady Galadriel. Met het licht van de ster. Die hem dus heeft gered. But the fit passed, and when Sam got back on the 25th, Frodo had recovered. And he said nothing about himself. In the meanwhile, Backhand had been set in order, and Merry and Pippin came over from Crick Hollow, bringing all the old furniture and gear, so that the old hall soon looked very much as it had always had done. When all was at last ready, Frodo said, "When are you going to move in and join me, Sam?" And Sam looked a bit awkward. "There's no need to come yet if you don't want to," said Frodo. "But you know the gaffer is close at hand and he will be very well looked after by Widow Rumble." "It is not that, Mr. Frodo," said Sam, and he went very red. "Well, what is it?" "It's Rosie Cotton," said Sam. "It seems she didn't like me going abroad at all, poor lass. But as I hadn't spoken, she couldn't say so. And I didn't speak because I had a job to do first. But now I have spoken and she says, 'Well, you've wasted a year, so why wait longer?' 'Wasted,' I says. 'I wouldn't call it that. Still I see what she means. I feel torn in two, as you might say.' 'I see,' said Frodo. 'You want to get married, and yet you want to live with me in Backhand too. But my dear Sam, how easy. Get married as soon as you can, and then move in with Rosie. There's room enough in Backhand for as big a family as you could wish for.' En zo it was settled. Hier zie je ook een stukje wijsheid van Frodo. Frodo voorziet Sam eigenlijk telkens van raad op dit moment in het verhaal. En daarmee zie je dat hij enorm gegroeid is. En straks komt er ook nog een stukje. Dat is heel mooi. Dan is er geen twijfel meer mogelijk hoe het er met Frodo voor staat. Even kijken hoor. Ja goed, dan een stukje over Merry en Pippin. Hoe die leven in Crick Hollow. Frodo and Sam, however, went back to ordinary attire, except that when there was need they both wore long grey cloaks, finely woven and clasped at the throat with beautiful brooches. And Mr. Frodo wore always a white jewel on a chain that he often would finger. Een soort herinnering aan zijn reis, aan het verleden. All things now went well, with hope always of becoming still better. And Sam was as busy and as full of delight as even a hobbit could wish. Nothing for him marred that whole year, except for some vague anxiety about his master. Frodo dropped quietly out of all the doings of the Shire, and Sam was pained to notice how little honor he had in his own country. Few people knew or wanted to know about his deeds and adventures. Their admiration and respect were given mostly to Mr. Meriadoc and Mr. Peregrine, and, if Sam had known it, to himself. Also in the autumn there appeared a shadow of all troubles. One evening Sam came into the study and found his master looking very strange. He was very pale and his eyes seemed to see things far away. "What's the matter, Mr. Frodo?" said Sam. "I am wounded," he answered. "Wounded? It will never really heal." But then he got up, and the turn seemed to pass, and he was quite himself the next day. It was not until afterwards that Sam recalled that the date was October the 6th. 2 years before on that day it was dark in the dell under Weathertop. Time went on, and 1421 came in. Frodo was ill again in March, but with a great effort he concealed it, for Sam had other things to think about. The first of Sam and Rosie's children was born on 25th of March, a date that Sam noted. "Well, Mr. Frodo," he said, "I'm a bit of a fix. Rose and me had settled to call him Frodo, with your leave. But it's not him, it's a her. Though as pretty a maid child as anyone could hope for, taking after Rose more than me, luckily. So we don't know what to do." "Well, Sam," said Frodo, "what's wrong with the old customs? Choose a flower name like Rose. Half the maid children in the Shire are called by such names, And what could be better? I suppose you're right, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. I have heard some beautiful names on my travels, but I suppose they're a bit too grand for daily wear and tear, as you might say. The gaffer, he says, make it short, and then you won't have to cut it short before you can use it. But if it is to be a flower name, then I don't trouble about the length. It must be a beautiful flower. It must be a beautiful flower, because you see, I think she's very beautiful, and it's going to be beautifuler still. Frodo thought for a moment. Well, Sam, what about Eleanor, the sun star? You remember the little golden flower in the grass of Lothlorien? You're right again, Mr. Frodo, said Sam delighted. That's what I wanted. Dus hier zie je weer, ja, Frodo ziet. Je kunt voelen dat Frodo dingen ziet. Zoals Gandalf dingen kon zien, heeft Frodo die gave nu ook. Hij ziet dingen gebeuren in de verte. Hij weet hoe hij Sam van raad moet voorzien. Hij is wijs. En hij komt nu met de naam Eleanor. Ja, ik denk dat we het voor nu hierbij laten. Bijna klaar. Het hoofdstuk nog een paar bladzijden. Maar dat doen we dan in de volgende video. Maken we dit hoofdstuk compleet. Met het einde, zoals iedereen weet, hoe dat afloopt. Maar je ziet dus, hij schrijft het zo mooi. Het zijn eigenlijk maar, 10, 15 bladzijden in dat hoofdstuk. Maar zo schitterend geschreven. Dat Tolkien met een paar laatste pennenstreken, met penseelstreken, nog even alles schitterend afsluit. Nou, heel mooi. Dus de volgende video is dan het einde van het boek en het einde van het hoofdstuk, de Grijze Haven, de Grey Havens.